Being joined by the Cuban Freedom March's organizer, Alian Collazo. Alian, how are you doing? Thank you so much for taking time out of your morning. I know you've got a busy day ahead.
Well, thank you. I'm wonderful. I'm fantastic, and I'm excited for what today will bring us.
Yeah, I was going to say, walk me through the emotions. I understand you got to D.C. yesterday, and actually, we did see some rallies in front of the White House yesterday. So even though you just got there and the big Freedom March is expected to happen today, talk to me about what has already gone on in our nation's capital this weekend.
Yeah, so since yesterday, there's been people arriving from across the country. A lot are Cuban Americans. A lot are everyday Americans that support this because this is a cause for human rights. It's not just a cause about Cuban Americans or something that just affects South Florida or where Cuban Americans live. So what we saw yesterday is just a small snippet of, you know, a couple hundred or maybe 1,000 or so plus individuals that were already here in our nation's capital, and they were rallying in front of the White House all the way until very late in the evening. I was out there actually till about 3 a.m. and there was a large crowd, and the crowd kept getting bigger as the buses and caravans of people that were coming into DC started arriving at that time of the night. So we're expecting a larger crowd today, anything between 4,000 to 10,000 individuals.
Now, Alian, I think it's so important to mention, and you mentioned it on Friday as well, that a lot of these people have traveled from Florida. I know we talked about Tampa, Orlando, Miami. Where have these people come from, and how have they shown support? Have you been in contact with them?
So we actually were able to put together, with the help of Cuban artists here in the United States, 15 sponsored buses that left from South Florida. So that was free of charge for those who wanted to come up. We had a bus leave from Orlando, a bus leave from Tampa Bay. We had several buses leave from New Jersey and several buses also from New York City, on top of the buses that were self-sponsored by different groups, including people as far away as the Commonwealth of Kentucky, who are here, and I actually saw their buses get here to our nation's capital last night at around 2-something in the morning.
That is so amazing. Now, how long has this been in the works, Alian? I know we've seen protests and rallies across South Florida and across the globe, really, but when did you yourself think we should go to D.C.?
Yeah, so this is largely, you know, an effort by me, but also by a wonderful group of friends who we have to give credit to them, because without them, this hard work, this came together really in about a week's time. So it's a group of my colleagues that studied foreign affairs with me at Florida International University in Miami. We were thinking, what can we do to amplify the voices of the Cuban people? We were thinking just congressional meetings, which is what we will be doing tomorrow in our nation's capital, along with Kevin McCarthy, who is holding a big meeting in front of the western portion of the capital that is going to be about the Cuba issue at 12 p.m. But besides that, we said, okay, what else can we do to really amplify the voices of the Cuban people and to let the world know about the repression that they are going through? And we decided that, okay, you know, the rally is something that has to happen. It's not something that should happen. We have to get to work on it ASAP. And we started making phone calls. I started making phone calls to all my friends, to everyone I knew, anyone in the media, anyone who was willing to give us tips, ideas on how to put something like this together. We never had done it. I personally had never done something like this before. So it has been a learning experience, to say the very least.
Now, that is so amazing. I know when we spoke last weekend, I know that was in the works, but so you will be meeting with leaders on Capitol Hill tomorrow. Is that's happening?
That is happening, and CPAC is actually putting a wonderful event right in front of the western side of the U.S. Capitol, and we're planning to be there. We're planning to also support it. Besides the meetings that we already have scheduled with different congressional offices, in which we will be making a call for them to help the establishment of internet, free and unrestricted internet to the Cuban people, and to keep, the Cuban regime on the state sponsor of terror list, which is important because not only do they terrorize our people, they terrorize the hemisphere as well.
Now, you literally just answered my next question. What do you want to see done?
Yeah, what we want to see done first and foremost is to send a message of solidarity to the Cuban people. There were some videos this morning that there are some rallies happening inside of Cuba today calling for freedom. So that's wonderful. And we need to keep those voices inside of Cuba alive. That's number one. Number two, we're asking for the United States president and all federal legislators to please come together and work together on delivering, free, unrestricted internet access through American ingenuity and private companies to the Cuban people. We have the best companies in the world. We have the best technologies in the world. America is a beacon of technology and of freedom. The Cuban people are asking for freedom. They need the help with the technology to get their voices out to the rest of the world. And lastly, just to an individual, for you, for me, for people across the country, to know that this is not about left, right. This is about human rights for the Cuban people who are our third closest neighbor. If you think about it, there's Mexico, there's Canada, and their closest neighbor is Cuba.
Now, Alian, I think it's important for the viewers to understand just how much and how poorly this internet restriction has affected people out there on the island nation. I understand that you have family out there. Have you been able to speak to them?
So I actually was able to speak to my family after 2 weeks this past weekend, which was really wonderful. Last time I was on you guys' show, it had been 2 weeks since I had not been able to speak to them. So I was able to get a word in, especially with my grandparents, which was wonderful. They are very terrified of talking about anything that's related to the protests or anything that's happening in Cuba. But at least I know that I was able to touch base with them to know they're healthy and alive.
Yeah, and Alian, so many people in similar situations that will be out there in D.C. today. So kind of walk me through what we can expect in the nation's capital within the hours to come.
Within the hours to come, the expectation is that starting at 2 p.m. our rallying point will be in front of the White House. And we're going to start gathering there. We're going to start protesting, and we're going to start peacefully demonstrating, asking, for the asks of the Cuban people. We're going to be amplifying their voices, and we're going to be rallying there until 3:30 p.m. At 3:30 p.m., we're going to start making our way down Pennsylvania Avenue, down Embassy Row to the Cuban Embassy. And we're going to peacefully demonstrate in front of the Cuban Embassy from 4 p.m. till 5 p.m. And at that time, we will turn back and end the rally, the protest in front of the White House, and then those who need to catch buses home and so forth and so on can do it from there.
Alian, I think it's so important to talk about that. This is really just the beginning, right? This is Cuban Americans showing their support and heading to our nation's capital to do so. So what do you want to see from here on out?
Well, what I want to see from here on out, and what all of our group, especially all the folks that have helped me put this together, who have been wonderful, Stephanie, Alexis, all of my wonderful friends and colleagues, we would like to see momentum towards keeping the narrative of the Cuban people alive. We need to keep their narrative alive. And that narrative is exactly what they're yelling and calling for out in the streets of Cuba. They're calling out for libertad, which means freedom. They're calling out with abajo con el comunismo, which means down with communism. They're calling out down with the regime, abajo el régimen. So we need to keep those voices alive, because there's a lot of distractors who are saying that this is about the embargo. I have not seen one protest from the 40 cities that came out to protest across Cuba that said, abajo con el embargo. They're not talking about the embargo. They're not talking about we need vaccines, necesitamos vacunas. They're talking about libertad, freedom. That is what we need to do. And that's what we would love to see.
All right, Alian. Well, we thank you so much for taking time out of your morning. I know it's a busy day ahead. Talk to me about what you're feeling and any remarks you want to make before we send you off here this morning.
What I'm feeling is an immense gratitude for networks like you guys and people across this country that have stood in tremendous solidarity with the Cuban people. I can tell you that I have friends who are in jail right now in Cuba, people that are missing, people that we don't know if they are alive or if they are missing or not. We need to keep those voices alive. There's a website, it's called cubanmissing.com, and it has a list, of the people that are missing in Cuba. I suggest that people pay attention to this because this is why this is so critical. There are the lives of people, human beings, 90 miles away from Florida Straits that are on the line with this. And my message is that with your help of the everyday people and the American people, we can make their voices heard and we can work an inch towards a Cuba Libre, a free Cuba. And that makes me so happy just to dream about it.
Well, Alian, thank you so much for being with us here this morning. We hope that today goes smoothly, that you stay safe out there. And again, we really appreciate your time here on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you.
Again, everybody, taking a Live Now look at the White House in our